It started as a whisper in medical circles, a new injectable medication that promised what decades of diets and exercise programs had failed to deliver: significant, sustained weight loss with minimal effort. By early 2023, that whisper had become a roar heard around the world. The drug's active ingredient, semaglutide, originally developed for diabetes management, was showing unprecedented results in obesity treatment. Patients were reporting weight loss of 15 to 20% of their body weight, numbers previously seen only with bariatric surgery. Pharmaceutical stock prices began their meteoric rise as prescriptions skyrocketed. Social media platforms became flooded with transformation stories. Women fitting into wedding dresses they'd never worn, men playing sports they'd abandoned years ago, grandparents actively engaging with grandchildren they previously struggled to lift. The hashtag miracle injection garnered billions of views across platforms, creating a cultural phenomenon that transcended traditional medicine and became a full-blown social movement. But beneath this surface of celebration, in the quiet laboratories and research facilities where the drug had been developed, a few concerned scientists were noticing anomalies that didn't fit the triumphant narrative. Slight irregularities in blood work, subtle changes in patient behavior patterns, minor side effects initially dismissed as insignificant, but that would later prove to be the first warning signs of an impending medical catastrophe of unprecedented scale. The first documented case of severe complications emerged in a Chicago teaching hospital, where Dr. Elena Rodriguez noticed 3 patients presenting with identical, unusual symptoms: severe gastrointestinal paralysis, unexplained thyroid abnormalities, and pancreatic inflammation. Initially considered coincidental, the pattern soon repeated in hospitals across the country. Medical forums began filling with concerned physicians sharing similar experiences, though most hesitated to speak publicly due to fear of professional repercussions. Internal documents later revealed that the pharmaceutical company's own research had identified these risks during animal trials, where subjects showed increased rates of thyroid, C-cell tumors, and gastrointestinal complications. Despite this knowledge, the company's marketing department launched an aggressive campaign targeting primary care physicians with free samples and generous speaking fees. Meanwhile, patients experiencing side effects found themselves struggling to be taken seriously, with many doctors attributing their symptoms to unrelated conditions or suggesting they were exaggerating minor discomforts. The company established a dedicated patient support program that often redirected complaints through layers of bureaucracy, effectively silencing concerns while collecting valuable data about emerging side effects without taking responsibility. This systematic suppression of early warning signs allowed the drug to remain on the market for critical additional months, during which millions of new prescriptions were written, generating billions in revenue while exposing countless patients to preventable harm. Dr. Michael Chen had been part of the drug's development team from its early stages. A respected endocrinologist with 20 years of research experience, he initially believed wholeheartedly in the medication's potential to address the obesity epidemic. However, as long-term data accumulated, he grew increasingly concerned about patterns of side effects that seemed more frequent and severe than initially reported. His requests for additional safety studies were repeatedly denied by management, who cited budget constraints and timeline pressures. The breaking point came when he discovered that unfavorable clinical trial results had been statistically manipulated to appear less concerning, and that case reports of serious adverse events were being systematically underreported to regulatory agencies. After exhausting all internal channels, Dr. Chen made the difficult decision to contact investigative journalists, knowing it would likely end his career. Using encrypted communication methods, he transferred thousands of pages of internal documents, emails discussing acceptable risk levels, memos calculating that potential lawsuit costs would represent only a small fraction of projected profits, and presentations explicitly instructing sales representatives to minimize discussions of side effects. These documents painted a chilling picture of corporate prioritization of profits over patient safety, revealing a culture where ethical considerations had been systematically replaced by financial calculations. Behind the statistics and financial reports were real people whose lives were irrevocably damaged. Sarah Mitchell, a 32-year-old elementary school teacher and mother of two, had started the medication hoping to regain the energy to keep up with her young students and children. Initially, the results seemed miraculous. She lost 40 pounds in 3 months, received constant compliments, and felt a confidence she hadn't experienced since her 20s. Then the problems began: persistent nausea, vomiting that left her dehydrated, and eventually a diagnosis of gastroparesis, a condition where the stomach muscles stop functioning properly. Within 6 months, Sarah required a feeding tube and could no longer work or care for her children independently. David Chen, a 45-year-old construction worker, developed medullary thyroid cancer, a known risk that had been downplayed in patient education materials. Maria Gonzalez, a 28-year-old graduate student, accumulated over $100,000 in medical debt treating complications, while the pharmaceutical company's CEO received a $25 million bonus. These individual stories multiplied into thousands, creating a silent epidemic of suffering that existed in stark contrast to the triumphant narrative being promoted by those profiting from the drug. Support groups formed both online and in person, with members sharing not just medical advice, but also legal strategies and emotional support as they navigated lives permanently altered by a medication they had trusted. The turning point came when major news organizations simultaneously published investigative pieces based on the leaked documents. The coverage triggered immediate responses from regulatory agencies worldwide, with several countries temporarily suspending the drug's approval pending further investigation. Class action lawsuits multiplied rapidly, eventually consolidating into one of the largest pharmaceutical litigations in history. Congressional hearings featured emotional testimony from patients and family members, alongside technical explanations from medical experts. The company's stock price plummeted, erasing billions in market value within days. Social media platforms that had previously hosted promotional content now became spaces for sharing experiences and organizing advocacy efforts. Medical associations revised their treatment guidelines, and insurance companies reconsidered coverage policies. Through it all, the victims maintained pressure through organized protests, social media campaigns, and continued media engagement. The case ultimately resulted in record-breaking settlements, criminal charges against several executives, and sweeping reforms to pharmaceutical safety reporting requirements. While the financial compensation provided some relief, many victims emphasized that no amount of money could fully restore their health or undo the permanent changes to their lives, relationships, and futures.